All right. Hello, folks. First off, Happy New Year and good afternoon. Fait que pour ceux qui sont francophones, bonne année et bon après-midi à tous. So today you're here to hear panel one, the urban panel. We are a City of Ottawa quasi-judicial tribunal that hears different types of applications under the Planning Act, notably the consents to sever and minor variances, but there are other types as well. Okay, just a moment. We're having camera issues. Perfect. Merci beaucoup. And let me just plug that back in so I don't lose everybody. During the course of this very long hearing, by the way, we haven't had a hearing like this in quite some time. So, okay, I think I've mentioned what we do and who we are. We're back to being in person. Of course, people have the opportunity to participate either in person, as you have, or online, which is one of the nice benefits that came out of our pandemic. You are being live streamed on YouTube, and the video will be archived and available for future viewing, as well as the agenda on the committee's website. So if you need to go back and look at any part of the discussion, you can still do that. My name is Anne Tremblay, and with me today are my fellow members. I'll start on my right, Member Blatherwick, Member Lecueilly, Member Haskins, and Member Keklikan. So like I said, we do have a very full agenda. You saw the agenda at the beginning of the hearing. We're going to change that up. And to be honest with you, even from last night, we're changing things up again, just because there's always new information that comes in. So in terms of the procedure, we're going to start with the adjournments, then we're going to go on to the unopposed applications, and then we're going to go to hearing the applications that may need full presentations. And then you'll notice in some cases that we deal with things, especially the unopposed, very quickly. I can assure you we have had a chance to look at all of the material that's on file. We've had a chance to pre-meet. We've had a chance to come up to speed on everything that has been submitted. So here today, our opportunity is to hear from you. What is it that you would like to tell us that's new information on the application? So even if you're not on my speakers list, you'll have an opportunity. We'll call you down if you would like to do that. Okay, also, I'm not going to read the part about the statutory declarations because they're all in. So sometimes what we do once we start hearing an application is we'll say, we'd like a full presentation. Most agents have submitted a PowerPoint presentation, which is awesome. And then we move on from there. Sometimes we don't need all of that. The application isn't all that complicated, but we do have questions about it. So in some cases, then the panel will just ask questions and then maybe get clarification from staff or planning staff or forestry. That's fairly common. And then from that point on, we would then open it up to the public. So that's where we start with the speakers list for each application, and then we call down anybody else who has an interest or online. So you can also participate the same way online. So once we've done all that, we give a chance to the agent to essentially recap, maybe rebut or respond to some of the concerns that have been raised. And then the committee deliberates on the application. So what the committee can do is obviously grant the application. We can deny an application, and sometimes we reserve on an application. And what that means is because we can sometimes get enough new information at the hearing from people who present to us, we may say, okay, we're going to adjourn this and reconvene right after the full hearing then adjourns and then make a decision. So we go back and we deliberate on that application if we feel we've heard enough new information that deserves that reserving of the application. In all cases, we make a decision one way or the other before we leave today, and then within 10 days of that decision, there's a written decision and the reasons for the committee's decision that can then go out to all parties, participants, and anyone else who's requested a copy of that decision. So if there's no questions, we can move on to sort of the business aspects and we'll get into the hearing. So I believe we've got some minutes. Do we have minutes to confirm on this? Okay, no, we're not dealing with minutes today. I also need any declarations of conflict of interest from any of the members of the panel for either this panel or panel 2 or 3.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to declare a conflict of interest on item 7, 100 Argyle Avenue. I'm working with the agent on another file. And then number 8, 615 Mikinak Road. The applicant is a previous employer.
All right, thank you. Is anyone else on the panel? Nope. All right, okay. I think we can then go to the next order of business, which is the adjournment requests. And we have a number, so I'm going to start with number 2. So looking for agent Kelsey, is that correct? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, panel members. Sorry.
I will need to have your name for the record and the person who has joined you at the table.
Yes. So my name is Amrinder Kaur Kalsi, and with me here is Yasemin Bahotri. We both are planners for P2 Square Concepts, and our address is 2200 Thurston Drive, Tower.
Thank you very much. All right, so the reason we've called you down is because there were some concerns from the committee about some of the aspects that surround this file. And before I guess we get too far into it, we just wanted to have that discussion. I believe it's Member Blatherwick had some questions on that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, when I was reviewing the materials, there was a comment made by an architect who was retained by one of the property owners, and either immediate or abutting this particular property, who was commented on the amount of windows on the new addition, and the fact that the amount of glass being proposed would be in excess of what the building code would allow. And my question is, if this is a problem, should not this be resolved before you come before us with a building design?
Yeah, so through you, Madam Chair, sorry, the amount of glazing on the windows with the 1.2 meter setback as per the Ontario Building Code is 7% permitted, and we have proposed 6.7%. So that is well within the permitted limits of the building code.
Okay, so you meet the requirement.
Yes, we meet the requirement.
That's what I needed to know, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Member Blatherwick. In that case, I am going to step you down to later in the meeting and have you back.
Sure,
All right?
thank you,
so much. Okay. The next adjournment that we are dealing with is applications 5 and 6 for 651 and 655 Donut Street. Agent Hume. Good afternoon and Happy New Year.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Happy New Year to you too. Only when you think easy things are going to be before the committee, they get hard. So I understand the request for an adjournment on 651, and we're not going to submit the committee to a detailed discussion on the calculations of fire flows. So we're agreeable, Madam Chair. We're going to need a little bit of clarification from city staff because this is a very odd comment. And but we're agreeable to defer 651 to February 18th, if that's acceptable to the committee. Our concern, if I can, is that the request to determine adequate fire flow is not related to the number of units in the building. Fire flow is related to the size of the building. So whether it's 8 units, 10 units, or 1 unit, the required fire flow is not attached to that. It's attached to the size of the building. So, and in this case, this building, if it had 8 units, would be zoning compliant. It would not require to be here. The only reason we're here is because we're dividing up the size of the building into 10 units. The other kind of quirky thing about this is that in 4 months, in 5 months, this is going to be a zoning compliant proposal, right? So we're unsure what the city is actually looking for because the size of the building isn't going to change. It's either going to have, if we were to move forward to a building permit today, it would have 8 units in it. Building would be the same size. We're saying let's reconfigure the internals of that building to allow 10 units consistent with the future zoning. In 6 months or 4 months or whatever the new zoning bylaw comes in place, this existing building, same size, will be zoning compliant, and fire flow calculations and the size of the building is going to be the same. So we're really not sure what the city's looking for in allowing the additional units. Now, if they're looking to shrink the size of the building, that's one thing. But what is the hurdle we have to pass to be able to get the additional units in the existing building above and beyond what would be allowed today if we were to apply for an 8-unit building? This is a nuance, but in fire flows, but I hope you understand what I'm asking.
So, Agent Hume, we had the same sort of discussion in the pre-meet. So it is a comment that we are trying to grapple with ourselves in terms of what this means. But I think where we would like to go with this, though, is to get that clarification. So I guess my question to you then is February 18th too far? Like, would you prefer is there?
So that was a good question that our internal team grappled with, because this is a very odd comment. We don't get this a lot. So, we have to determine the flow out of a fire hydrant, the constructability of a building, which are factors in determining the fire flow. So we don't think we can make it to the next meeting of the committee, because if the city doesn't have flow data out of the fire hydrant in front of this, we have to go out, hire a consultant, have that consultant go out, measure the flow out of the fire hydrant and do that. And 2 weeks we don't think is enough time. So, but we think a month is.
Okay, fair enough. So what I'd like, though, in the reports that came forward to us, there wasn't the detailed information to provide us with that guidance. So what I'm going to ask Ms. Horn is, we're going to adjourn it's both applications to the February 18th date. We would like in the planning report, though, so it sounds like there's going to be good discussion about what we really are looking for and how we get that information. So Ms. Horn, if you could be sure when you come back with a revised report that you have the details about what it is that Planning Services is looking for and how it was resolved with our applicant, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, so if I could just ask for the committee's indulgence which relates to 651 Donut, which is the easement to allow the shared driveway so you have 2 applications in front of you, one for the minor variance and easement on one side and one for the easement. I appreciate that you would like to dispose of both of them together. It would be my submission to you that we've already applied for a building. We've already applied and received a building permit for 651, for 655 Donat, which includes an allocation for the shared driveway. So if the committee was so inclined, it would be my submission that you could approve 655, the easement request, or the easement request at 655. But if you'd like to dispose of them together, we're in your hands.
So the committee always prefers to keep applications that are directly tied and hear them at the same time. And so my question to you would have been, do you have an occupancy permit? And, would you have it before the 18th of February? And it sounds like the answer is no to that. So to me, it makes sense that we then retain them together.
Madam Chair, I'm in your hands.
All right. Okay. So any questions from the committee on this request for adjournment? No? All right. So anybody in the audience or online who would like to speak to the adjournment to February 18th for both applications number 5 and 6, which are 651 and 655, Donna? All right. With that, all in favor of the adjournment? Okay, so for the record, it's unanimous. We are adjourning this application to the 18th of February. Thank you very much and good luck with those discussions, and we look forward to getting that detail.
Yeah,
in the future.
we will, we may be surprised at what we come back with. So, but thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. I'm going to wish you luck. Okay, so that gives us just a minute. I'm getting caught up here on my notes in my applications. All right, so we have after that, application number 10-249 Shakespeare Street, looking for agent Litage. I'm sure I'm getting that wrong again. My apologies.
You should know that by now. Thank you.
Just for the record, again, your name and your address. And
My name is Niels Lutke. I'm here on behalf of the property owner of 249 Shakespeare. I myself live in Sandy Hill at 233 Stewart Street.
Sorry, thank you very much. So we are looking at an adjournment of this application. Can you give us just a brief description or something of that?
Yeah, of course, of course. It's very similar to the previous. It's I just learned on Friday that the Planning, Real Estate, Economic Development Department requested an adjournment for the same reason as the previous. They want to see the calculations for adequate fire flow. That's the nearest fire hydrant is sufficient to put out a fire if we add these 2 basement units. And so I've contacted our engineers, and that process is underway.
All right, and okay, so is it your opinion that you can meet the February 3rd date?
I believe I can. My engineer's on this right now, but it does involve a little bit of, he has to obtain some information from the planning department, boundaries, et cetera. And then he does his calculations. And then I believe it's sent back to that planning department. And it depends on how much time.
Well, so the planning reports have to be to us the week before February
Right.
3rd. So that doesn't give you a lot of time. Would you prefer to go to the 18th?
I'd be comfortable with the 18th, yeah.
All right, that's terrific. Any questions from, yes, Member Blatherwick?
Mr. Lutke, the addition of 2 more units to this building is within the existing building envelope?
Correct.
You're not changing the building size?
No.
Okay, thank you. So my question is to Ms. Horn. We've just heard from Mr. Hume that fire flow calculations are based on the size of the building, not the number of the units. So why is this being requested here when it seems to me that the fire flow calculation is tied to building size and not number of units?
Thank you, Mr. Blatherwick. Essentially, the concern or the comment was triggered by the age and the material and the size of the pipe that's within the street. So from there, we look at, number of people who could be, exposed or affected by the fire flow. And so that the number of units was ultimately used as a trigger for us wanting to see more information.
Thank you, Ms. Horn. Perhaps maybe the department could inform the committee at some point in the future regarding fire flow requirements and the need for reserve capacity determinations when these kinds of projects are proposed. I'm a little confused.
Agreed. Same as the last comment then, Ms. Horn. I take it, was it your file? Yes, it was. Okay. If you wouldn't mind ensuring that the revised planning report provides us with that clarity so that we know what we're really talking about here. Okay, so any other questions from the panel on this adjournment request of February 18th? Anyone in the audience want to speak to an adjournment request February 18th at this point for application number 10 at 249 Shakespeare? Anybody online? Not seeing anybody. So with that then, all those in favor on the committee? All right, for the record, it's unanimous. We will see you back then, Mr. Litka. I think I got that right.
Lucha, yeah. Thank you. That's
I will
okay.
see you back on the
18th.
18th. That's right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right. Okay, so we have one last adjournment. And that is for application 13, 280 Wesley Avenue. Agent Sun is who I'm looking for. Is that agent online?
Yes, Madam Chair, he's online.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I have a technical problem. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you. Is this Mr. Sun?
Yeah, it's me.
All right.
Yeah, my name is Sun, is the architect on the proposal. I'm living 33 Willow Gun Drive, Canada.
I beg your pardon, I don't think I caught that.
Yeah, I live 33 Willow Gun Drive, Canada. So my name is Chang, the architect on this application.
All right, thank you. So can you please summarize briefly the reason for the adjournment?
For sure. Yesterday at the very late day, we got additional comment from neighbor. So we would like to have extra time to discuss with the neighbor along with a property owner to find possible solution to address their concern. So we need time to discuss with the neighbor.
All right, and you're requesting a sine die adjournment? Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions from the committee on this request for sine die adjournment? No? All right. Is there anyone in the audience or online who would like to speak to the committee about this request for adjournment sine die, which means it's not deferred to a new date. It's a recirculation. There'll be a new notice that will go out to everyone that's affected. So if there's nobody then, in that case, that committee, I think we can go to a vote. All those in favor? All right, then. So Mr. Sun, it's unanimous. Your application is adjourned sine die. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. We're going to go to the unopposed at this point. What that means is these are applications that are really straightforward. There's been no concerns submitted, no comments submitted. So essentially, they're applications that we know are essentially supported. We've got a number of them. I'll read out. Oh, and I think, great. Thank you very much for putting that up. So application number 3 for 88 Hamilton Avenue, and I don't need to see the agents at all on this. So number 3, 88 Hamilton Avenue, number 4, 270 Corral Avenue, number 7, 100 Argyle Avenue, and number 11, 72 Laval Street. I just want to make one quick comment with regards to number 7. And for the record, that we note that we are deleting, in fact, minor variance C for that application. So I'm just going to do one call out. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak to any of those applications or anybody online? All right. That being the case, members of the committee, we are voting on this as a package deal. All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Colin. Sorry, Member Haskins. Didn't see that. So because of the declaration of conflict of interest, he's just, Member Haskins is just stepping away. I'd forgotten he had a declaration on that. So members of the committee then, we are ready to vote. All those in favor? Let's make sure. Okay, so for the record, all 4 of those applications are granted. So thank you. That takes care of a few more applications on our agenda. So that takes us to the applications that we are going to hear and want full presentations on in some cases. So just bear with me another moment. Okay. Let's start with number 1, 2463 Clover Street. Can I see Agent Odette, please? Is that agent here or online?
Madam Chair, he's online and joining the meeting now.
Thank you for that.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can I get you to confirm your name and your address, please, for the record?
Yes, my name is Christopher Odette, and the address is 2463 Clover Street in Ottawa.
All right, so we're just going to need a very brief explanation from you. We don't need a PowerPoint presentation, just a brief explanation as to what the application involves.
So for this application, I have proposed to build a deck at the front of the property. It is going to be attached to the existing porch and sitting over top of the driveway for the house. The deck itself exceeds the variance by 0.3 meters to 2.3 meters, which the required setback is permits a maximum of 2 meters.
So we've got a bit of an issue because that's the notice actually says that the request is for an increased deck projection of 2.5, not 2.3, which is the correct number, Mr. Odette.
It's actually 2.3.
All right, so we're amending the notice on the application to 2.3 rather than the 2.5. So because it's less of a requirement, then we don't need to recirculate. So that's good. It's a reduced request for relief. So we don't need to adjourn at that point. So with that, I'm going to open it up to questions from our panel members. Anyone? No one? Oh, member Lekegi?
Sorry, I thought Mr. Blatherwick was going. So my question is for planning. I noticed that there was no concerns with this application. And I was just curious, I felt the application just kind of a cover memo. I don't have a lot of evidence with pictures or some other things that we might see in an application. Just curious if you could speak to the rationale for no concerns on this particular one. We don't typically see decks in a front yard, so it's a bit different than some of the other ones we've seen before. So if you could just kind of walk me through that, that'd be super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So in the case, we often do see decks in the front yard. They're just meeting the requirements of the zoning bylaw, which allows them to project 2 meters into the front yard. In this case, we're going from 2 meters to 2.3 meters, which is considered reasonable and minor in nature, and where it's not encroaching, within the city's right of way. There's really no impacts to pedestrian comfortability here.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll hear from our speaker who had some others, so I'll leave the questions maybe for that.
All right, that sounds fine. Anybody else for questions? No? All right. So we're going to open it up to the public portion. At this point, we do have somebody on our list here who has asked to speak. Alex Majdanu? Do we have that person online?
Here. Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon. All right, so you've got 5 minutes, so go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Alex Majdanu. So I live next door to the applicant. in a semi-detached home. So my wife and I did think about this long and hard about making comments in this proposed variance, but we just couldn't not say anything just because our structures are attached and it will be drastically changed in our mind. In accordance with the deck, we're not really in agreement with that because we feel that it's it's going to change the front face of the house, and it kind of changes the facade and a curb appeal of the home. Also, the applicant has verbally advised me that he plans on replacing the living room windows with a front sliding door, which I feel really changes the look of the home. And at the same time, if he's planning on using his current front door to change into a vanity washroom. We have a covered porch over our front doors at the moment, and I feel that will again be very change the overall look and appeal of everything. In the cover letter, it states that it doesn't. The second point states that it doesn't. That it meets the points of the Section 44 of the Planning Act, that the deck is designed to remain in proportion of the lot dwelling. But in my mind, the dwelling is the whole structure, not just his side of the property. Again, it's a shared property, so it makes it kind of hard to drastically change it. Also, the height of the deck is quite high. So when I'm standing at grade, there's somebody 14 to 20 feet towering above me. It's a little bit intense and awkward, and again, changes the visual balance of the lot. I'm not in any way trying to deter my neighbor or tell him how to fix or upgrade his home, but at the same time, this is something that I think is a valid point. And I haven't been able to complete my own work to my own stairs. Waiting for this application to go through, and that which makes me really want the application to go through, but at the same time, I don't want to do that at the expense of our homes looking quite different. I had also had another issue with the drawing itself. I know this is just about the deck, but there is a large stair landing that is being proposed at the top of the stairs. Which I feel is going to really offset the stairs. So when I'm going to be walking down my staircase, all I will see to my right is a concrete structure. So I have spoken to Chris about this, and we have said that we would look at it with his contractor. But at the same time, I did feel like it should be noted in this meeting. I have an application that was approved in 2024. Application number A24-005232, but there doesn't seem to be any cohesiveness between his application and mine. Just wondering if the city planner are looking at the two applications, because there is quite a bit of grading and elevation issues in between the two designs. So yeah, I just thought I'd bring up these points. That is all I have for today. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. What I can tell you is that the committee's jurisdiction is very limited in these cases, right? So all we can really deal with is what is before us on this application. Things like a front sliding door and replacing the front door with a bathroom, or the and I'm going to ask Mr. Geldart this question, so I just want to make sure nothing's been missed from a zoning standpoint. But for the most part, the only thing this committee can deal with is the projection, the request for projection, which is 0.3 of a meter is what's being asked for beyond what the zoning bylaw requests. So it's about a foot is really what the applicant is looking for. Mr. Geldart, could you please confirm that there's no deck sizing in the zoning or height or any of that we might have missed, and that you've done that review? Thank you.
Yeah, so full review has been done, and the only application to be considered by this committee is the variance from 2 meters to 2.3 meters for the projection.
All right, so how is it a building code issue, the size of the deck and the height of the deck and all of that?
Pardon, Madam Chair, would you be able to repeat your question?
So I think what we heard from our speakers that there was a concern about the size of the structure and the height of the structure that was going to be built, and that it doesn't match what is on the other half, I guess, of the property. And they are two distinct properties. So I just wanted to make sure, like, to understand what, how those structures, the construction, even though it's not the committee's purview, just to understand how something like that deck projection, that porch projection, is going to be dealt with from a structural standpoint, height and size.
Yeah, well, the way that we would deal with it is each owner, if they're making modifications to their existing deck and entrance, they would be required to submit a building permit. Now, those would be assigned two different building permit numbers and likely reviewed independently, but we would be consider all things related to grading and drainage, for example. But each respective owner has the right to modify their deck on their, within the limits of their property as they see fit, and as long as they're showing that it's meeting the Ontario Building Code.
Thank you, Mr. Gildart, for that clarification. So that essentially, I think, addresses most of the concerns. Is there anybody on the panel who has questions for our speaker? Yes, Member Blatherwick.
I just have a question to the applicant. Have you at all talked to your neighbor about constructing a privacy fence between your properties at the deck level to give them a sense of privacy after you've built a deck at the front of your house? Has that been a discussion at all between the two of you?
I have not had a discussion with the neighbor about that, but I did discuss with my engineer about this, and he had suggested, and I believe somebody from the planning community that I consulted with suggested that that may be required as well.
Because quite frankly, the privacy and overlooking concerns of your neighbor could, I think, largely be dealt with the exception of noise, with a sandwich board privacy fence at 2.1 meters, which is the legal limit of fencing in the city of Ottawa. You may want to discuss that with your neighbor. Thank you.
Okay, I agree.
All right.
Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Member Blatherwick. Okay, anyone else, either in the audience or online, who would like to speak to this application? Because I believe we have no one else on our speakers list. If there's nobody else, then Mr. Odette, you have the last few words on this, if you'd like to recap or reply to some of the comments heard. Mr. Odette? Have we lost our agent?
Oh, sorry. I've got a little one here at home. No, I don't have anything specific other than what was outlined in my cover letter that I submitted with this. But it like I said, this is largely following the zoning bylaw. It's just a small variance that I've asked for, 0.3 of a meter.
All right, thank you. I think then we can move to a vote on this application. So all those in favor? All right, for the record, the application is granted. Mr. Odette, thank you.
Just to confirm, Madam Chair, that's granted as amended.
Granted as amended, yes. Thank you for that reminder. Okay, that takes us to application number 2 then for 47 Rockcliffe Way. So if we could have our agents back down. We are looking for a full presentation on this application. So whenever you're ready, The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, panel. So my name is Yassam Bahadouri, and with me I have Amrinder Kaur, and we are presenting this application. And we prepared a presentation. If the coordinators could put it up on the screen, thanks. So this application is for 47 Rockcliffe Way to request 4 minor variances related to the proposed two-story rear addition to an existing two-story dwelling and a proposed deck. Next slide, please. Thank you. The site is located in the inner urban transit and is designated as a neighborhood and is within the metro neighborhood overlay. Next slide, please. The site is zoned R1QQ exception 1493, which permits single detached dwelling. Next slide, please. So this is the survey plan, shows the existing two-story dwelling shown in gray, which is proposed to be retained, as well as the existing deck, porch, and shed that are proposed to be removed, shown in red. Next slide, please. So these are site photos for the property. Photo 1 shows the existing two-story to be retained and existing deck and porch to be removed. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So photo 1 shows the front facade of the existing two-story dwelling, which is proposed to be retained, and photo 2 shows the, I think last slide.
Or can we go back?
And photo 2 shows the wooden fence along the rear property between the subject property and the property at 70 Maple Lane. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is the site plan showing the proposed two-story addition at the rear and also the proposed deck. The site is fully compliant with corner yard and rear yard soft landscaping requirements. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the minor variances and location of each. Variance A shows the existing lot area is 339.4 square meters, whereas the requirement is 360 square meters. Variance B, the proposed rear yard area is 11% of the lot area or 37.87 square meters, whereas the requirement is 25% of the lot area or 84.85 square meters. Variance C, the proposed rear yard setback is 1.2 meters, whereas the requirement is 4 meters. And variance D, the proposed eaves projects slightly more than permitted, reaching 1.18 meters and are set 0.27 meters from the side lot line compared to the required 1 meter projection and 0.3 meters setback. Next slide, please. Regarding the forecast of a minor variance, all requested variances are small in scale, site-specific, and driven by existing lot condition and configuration, not overdevelopment. Regarding test 1, for lot area variance, the lot is 20.6 square meter below the required 360 square meters, which represent a 5.7% reduction. Surrounding properties in the same zone have smaller lot areas, as you can see in this figure, and also under the new zoning bylaw 2026-50 final draft, the property is zoned N2C, where there is no minimum lot area in that zone, and also development is regulated by maximum density rather than lot area. And so based on that, 5 units are can be accommodated in that current lot, while only 1 unit is proposed. And also the minimum lot width is reduced to 10 meters under the new zoning compared to 12 meter previously, allowing a smaller lot. Next slide, please. Thank you. So for rear yard area variance, the subject property is a corner lot with an irregular shape, and the proposed staggered rear addition responds to this geometry without increasing the building mass or scale. And although 11% rear yard area is provided, the rear yard is completely soft landscaped and exceeds the required 50%. And also the triangular areas created by angled rear lot line shown in orange in the figure are excluded from the rear yard area calculation. And if included, the rear yard area would increase from 37.87 square meters to 45.69 square meters. Next slide, please. For rear yard setback, the rear setback along Rockcliffe Way are highly variable.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. And several nearby properties, as shown in this figure, have setbacks ranging from 0 to approximately 2 meters, and the abutting rear property at 70 Maple Lane has an approximately 0.75 meter rear yard setback based on the survey, and historical aerial imagery confirms this reduced setback has been a long-standing condition predating 1965. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the eaves variance is minimal at only 0.03 meters, affects just 0.28 meters of the total eave length, or 2.2% of the whole eave length, with the remaining 97.8% fully compliant, and the closed eaves create no drainage impacts. Next slide, please. So regarding test 2, proposed development is also consistent with the low-rise infill housing urban design guidelines. The proposal is limited to small 2-story rear addition with no changes to the front facade or streetscape. The addition is located entirely at the rear, maintains the existing building height and scale, and uses materials consistent with the neighborhood, make it largely invisible from the public realm. All protected trees are retained, and the design minimizes impacts within critical root zones. Also, the rear yard remains functional and landscaped, and window placement has been considered to maintain privacy. Also, regarding test 3, the proposal aligned with official plan policies in section 224 relating to healthy and inclusive communities, section 4.7 relating to drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure, section 5.2 relating to inner urban transit, and section 6.3 relating to neighborhoods. Next slide, please. Regarding test 4, the proposal maintains the intent of the R1 zone by preserving a single detached dwelling and the low density residential character of the neighborhood. The minor lot area variance doesn't affect site functionality, as the property continue to meet key standards for height, landscaping, and amenity space, and is consistent with the established lot pattern on Rockcliffe Way. Also, the rear yard area and setback variances resulted from irregular corner lot geometry, not overdevelopment, and the rear yard remains fully landscaped, functional, and private, with screening provided by existing wooden fence. Next slide. So this slide shows all 4 building elevations with focus on east facade facing 70 Maple Lane, which was designed to meet Ontario Building Code limits, providing 6.7% unprotected opening within the 7% permitted for a 1.2 meter setback. Next slide, please. This is the TIR showing 2 trees will be kept and protected. The design avoids removing trees and limits work near their roots, and the rear deck will be built above ground, and also tree protection fencing will be installed in the line with city requirements. That concludes our presentation, and we are available for any question you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kaur. Is it Kaur? Have I got that?
Bahadouri. cover with my color.
Okay, I see. Okay, you're Bahaduri?
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you for that comprehensive presentation and for a well put together report. You have provided a lot of the information that this committee needs to consider. So that said, though, there's always questions for clarifications. So I am going to open it up to the members to see if anybody has anything they would like to ask. All right, I'm not seeing anything. I do have one. Oh, sorry, Member Haskins. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sorry. I was just looking for clarification on potentially from the agent here, why the applicant is choosing to do a rear yard addition rather than a side yard. It looked like there was buildable area there.
So through Madam Chair, we did discuss the opportunity of discussing it not on the rear yard, but on the side yard. But it was impacting the streetscape, the neighborhood character, and it would still have the variances up there due to the lot shape and the constraints up there. So that is why we thought rather than disturbing the neighborhood escape and streetscape and the neighborhood character, we would do a rear addition. So that's why the owner started with that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Member Ndakayi.
Just building on the point of my colleague, through you, Madam Chair, just curious if there was any other alternative designs you considered with the rear yard, so the particular one that we're kind of seeing here today.
Yes, the designer did consider about the rear addition alternative options up there, but it was all coming back to the limitations in the rear yard and the kind of space we have, the irregular lot line at the rear. So this was the most viable option for the applicant, and that's why this was considered. Thank you.
Any other questions? I have one. You must have noticed there's quite a bit of opposition to your proposal. Can you tell me a little bit about what public consultation you undertook with the neighbors?
Yes, Madam Chair. So the owner did consult with the neighbors in the neighborhood. He was in the middle of the consultation when his sister demised, and he had to travel during the last few days, and he had to travel to another country for the funeral and other procedures. So that was the only time he was not available for the public discussions, but he had initiated it with the neighbors just across the street, the neighbors of owners of 45 Rockcliffe. And I think considering the discussions which are the oppositions which have come up are from the neighbors, from the rear yard neighbors, that is for the 70 Maple Lane, and they are aware of them not being available due to the sister's death. So
Okay, sorry, for clarification, I guess I need a little more information.
Yeah.
So the owner did reach out. Do you know whether that was an email? Did he knock on the door? How did that happen? And can you tell me when?
He did it when, I think I'm not aware of the exact when in terms of the timeline. The owner would be the best person who can state when he did it, but he did it with the property owners of 45 Rockcliffe. I have the addresses 45, 44, 46, 42, all on the Rockcliffe Way, and 197 Springfield Road. So these were he could reach out to at that time.
Okay, but nobody on Maple Lane?
No, unfortunately, no.
All right, thank you for that. I guess we are going to hear from some folks that have asked to speak. So let's see. I've got architect Jane Thompson. So if I could have you come down, please, because I believe that's you hold a piece of information important to us. And everybody's important to us, but I think this relates back to the comments that we heard from Member Blatherwick. And then I'm going to want to hear from Ms. Janet Thomas. Those are the two that we have on our list. So going to give you the floor, Ms. Thompson. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I'm Jane Thompson from Jod Architect, representing the owner of 70 Maple Lane. And thank you for the opportunity to present our opinion that the proposed variances with respect to rear yard setback and rear yard area are not minor, do not respect the intent of the official plan or zoning bylaw, and are not desirable for good development of the lot, both in the general context of Linden Lee and in particular on this lot. The application material that was submitted does not speak to the impacts on the neighborhood property to the north, 70 Maple Lane, and contains inaccuracies that affect the assessment of this proposal. We appreciate your consideration of our submission, and we also ask that the city planning comments and the tree information report be reassessed in light of our submission. I believe that there are 9 good reasons why these variances should be turned down. The first slide, if you could put that up, illustrates in detail the context of the proposed addition, including correct location of the house and tree, 1- and 2-story portions of the buildings, windows that face towards each other, the location of the rear deck at Maple Lane, 70 Maple Lane, and the portions of the rear yard property line that contain solid board fencing and low chain link fence. Firstly, the decision to set the face of the addition at 1.2 meters from the rear property line creates a 70% deficiency from the required setback, which is not minor and extends along a significant portion of the rear yard, as you can see. The required 4-meter setback is already a reduction of the typical 6-meter requirement, designed specifically for shallow lots like this with a lot depth of 15 meters or less. The direction of the new zoning bylaw is to eliminate this 4-meter reduction on shallow lots, requiring a 6-meter setback, bringing the proposed rear yard setback to an 80% deficiency from new requirements. Secondly, the 55% deficiency in rear yard area is not minor or the result of a geometric anomaly as suggested, but a direct result of a rear yard setback that is so far below the requirement. As seen in the second slide, the proposed rear yard variances are made much worse by the 2-story height of the proposed addition and its width. We've indicated in red all the windows that would be facing towards 70 Maple Lane. The zoning bylaw does not contemplate house additions within 4 meters of the rear property line. However, sections that permit accessory buildings and coach houses in a rear yard limit height to 1 story and 3.6 meters and prohibit any glazing facing neighboring properties on the rear or side yards within 4 meters of the property line. Further, infill guidelines state, consider building heights and the location of windows to determine appropriate side and rear separation between existing homes and new infill housing to ensure access to natural light, views, and reasonable privacy from overlook. The third slide illustrates the existing positive situation, we believe, created by 1-story portions on both properties and the views that this allows. The fourth slide illustrates the fourth reason, we hope you will reject these variances, the unreasonable loss of privacy and views from the kitchen, dining room, bedroom, and bathroom of 70 Maple Lane, which under the proposed variances would look out at 2-story walls and 11 glazed sections located much closer to these windows than the existing situation. Slide 5 illustrates the fifth reason, that there will be no screening of the proposed addition in the eastern section of the lot. You can see this on the bottom 2 photographs on that sheet, where there's only a low chain link fence separating the properties from each other, and that the large maple that is referred to as providing screening is at the very corner of the property where it is not block views to 47 Rockcliffe Way. Slides 6 through 15 contain sun studies for all seasons and times of the day to illustrate the sixth problem with these variances, loss of sunlight to the outdoor amenity space, deck, and through windows into the house. The owner will illustrate the sunlight that now enters the house, even in winter. These studies show the additional shading that would result from granting variances in gray, compared to the shading that would result from a compliant 2-story addition set at the required 4-meter setback. In the first slide, for example, at 11 a.m. in spring and fall, there would be almost no shading from a compliant addition versus shading of the rear deck, rear yard, and dining room glass doors if the minor variances are approved. If we skip through to the very last slide, we just run through, there's the other sun studies that were completed. The last slide illustrates the assumed and actual critical root zone of tree number 1 in the arborist report. Almost done. The location of this tree was not indicated on the survey that was included with the application or the applicant's site plan. And as noted in the TIR, it was estimated for the purposes. And this estimate was smaller and further from the proposed addition than the real situation based on the site measurements we've taken. The actual critical root zone would extend to the proposed addition footprint as illustrated, calling into question the ability to preserve this tree. The 7th reason for turning down this application. The 8th is that the proposed rear yard setback and area are not supported by neighborhood precedents as suggested in the applicant's original figure 7, which I think they have since revised. If you look for precedents within with a rear yard setback of 2 meters or less at a 2-story height, I can only find 2 of the 98 properties illustrated in the original figure 7. And these 2 only serve to show the overdevelopment that results when this situation occurs. And finally, the 9th reason I believe that this application should be refused is that a proposal with obvious impacts on neighbors calls for consultation to try to find a solution that meets the needs of 47 Rockcliffe Way, as well as their neighbors. As discussed, there was no consultation at all with the neighbor at 70 Maple Lane.
All right, thank you, Ms. Thompson. So you are representing specifically the owners at 70 Maple Lane, is that correct?
That's correct. I've been retained by them.
All right. So I'm just going to go back to Ms. Cower. Is this something that you think you might be able to resolve through further consultation with that neighbor? Because there seems to be some fairly significant concerns about the proposed addition. And this is, I guess, why we had called you down originally about a possible adjournment, because, you know, this is a lot. I mean, we haven't even heard from others yet in the neighborhood. Just wondering whether or not you would like to take some time to meet with those neighbors before we continue, and then maybe adjourn this to February 18th meeting. What are your thoughts?
So through you, Madam Chair, and thank you for putting up this question. We did discuss with the owners of the property, and they want to go ahead with this today and not go into the further discussions per se. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And thank you very much also to our speaker, Ms. Thompson. Is there, I've got also Ms. Thomas, did you want to come down and speak to us? I'm just going to ask you to give your name for the record again and your address.
My name is Janet Thomas, and I've owned and lived at Miss 70 Maple Lane for 30 years. I like and respect my neighbors, and I certainly wish that they had come and spoken to me about their wishes. And I've never been consulted, ever. This proposal will have a severe negative impact on my right to enjoy my property. So to be sure that I correctly interpreted the plans and that I'm not overreacting, I did ask the help of Jane Thompson. I would like you to show diagram 1. These diagrams are taking a long time to load, so I hope I've timed my presentation to 5 minutes, but it's taking time. So what you see here is my house at the top, situated correctly on my property. In the application, my house is incorrectly placed to the west, which minimizes the impact of the proposal. You can see that the proposed addition runs the full length of my house and extends beyond my deck over the garden as well. The dotted line on 47 Rockcliffe is the regulation 4-meter setback. The applicant is requesting this to be reduced by 70% to a mere 1.2 meters. Please advance. The impact of a 2-story structure in such close proximity, extending the full length of my property and my deck, with 11 windows and doors giving directly onto my property, will be devastating to my privacy, my light, and my view. From every south-facing window, I'll look into a 2-story wall. As you can see with the red, there are 9 windows and 2 glazed doors that will look directly into my kitchen, my bedroom, and my bathroom, and will also overlook my deck and my garden, invading my privacy. Please advance. For context, I have provided 3 photos from within my house. The first on top is from my kitchen window. This view will be completely obstructed by a wall just behind the fence that you see, the dark line fence that you see. Photo 2 on the left-hand bottom side shows the view from my bedroom window. The tree limbs that you see will need to be cut, apparently, and a wall of windows will rob me of my privacy in my bedroom and my green space. The photo on the lower right-hand side is from my dining room window, and it shows the current shed, which will be replaced by 2 stories. That is less than 1 story, so 2 stories high. The left-hand corner will actually advance towards my property and then extend the full length of my property. Now, as Jane pointed out, there is a bylaw governing additional separate structures built within a 4-meter setback, like coach houses, and that bylaw limits them to 1 story and prohibits windows giving into the neighboring property. The clear intention is to protect the privacy of the neighbors and their right to light and view. I'm aware that this bylaw does not apply in this case, but the intention stands, and this proposal violates that principle. The applicant justifies the reduced setback by saying that many other properties have similar variances. I took the aerial photo in hand, I walked my neighborhood, and what I found was that most of these were sheds, carports, garages, the odd 1-story addition, and I'm told that there do exist 2-story additions, but I didn't find them. None of these that I saw have windows. Few of them imposed 70% into the 4-meter setback, and none of them compromise the privacy of their neighbors to the same extent that this proposal will, a 2-story building with 9 windows. Please advance just quickly. I took photos on the weekend to show that this is light that comes in. Well, I took them around the noon hour. All this light will be severely compromised because of the 2-story wall so close to me. So I will lose light, direct light and indirect light inside my home and outside on my deck and in my garden. The last point, if you can advance to the trees, please. The application incorrectly places a mature maple on a different lot. It actually, as you can see, grows on my property. It is also incorrectly sized. To accommodate construction, the large limbs you see on the right will need to be cut. Much of the root mass will be severed. This will imperil the tree's survival and deprive me of all my view of green space and its shelter. It shelters me from the heat in the hot summer months. In fact, I don't have air conditioning, and in 30 years, I've never needed it when I have tree coverage. So I ask that you refuse this application, and I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Thomas. All right, so there's a number of questions I have in regards to that. If Member Lecueillier would just indulge me for a minute, just want to talk to Forestry for a moment. Who do we have from Forestry Services? Good afternoon, Mr. Barkham. How are you?
Well, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you. So I'm looking at the comments in the planning report that relate to the TIR, and we've just heard from our speaker that they believe that maybe some, I'm not to put words in our speaker's mouth, but is it possible that the tree information report does not reflect accurately the location of the trees affected?
Yes, it's entirely possible, and I certainly appreciate the speaker bringing forward that issue. I think in the TIR it is stated that the location is estimated, likely due to the arborist not wanting to enter another property. Given the size and location, I do think the impact is going to be larger than what is being stated, but sorry, I think that was your initial question. I'll leave it there.
Yes, that's fine. That's exactly the information I was looking for. I'm going to let Member Lecuyer go next. I've got another question, but I'll come back.
Through you, Madam Chair, curious of when I saw the dimensions of your property line, I noticed that your property also is close to the lot line, but it's 1 story rather than 2. Can you tell me if that's original, like that bump out? Is that original? You've been there, you told us 30 years. Is that original, or is this an addition that was previously done?
It was previously done, and I think it was done in the 50s or the 60s. A porch was taken off and that was put on. It's single story. It has only 1 window looking into the extreme far corner of the shed. No windows giving on to my neighbors. You see that my neighbors attached their deck to my fence, which actually comes in on my property a bit. And yet I'm set back from the fence. And also the structure that you're talking about, the addition at the back, is on an angle. So it's only 1 corner that intrudes into the property line setback.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Member Lecuyer. And that's exactly where I was going with my next question. And so just to follow on with that then, Mr. Geldart, I may want Ms. Horn, sorry, Ms. Horn, may want your opinion on this, but it sounds like the construction of Ms. Thomas's home would have occurred long before the zoning bylaw would have imposed. So it's legal nonconforming is what we're looking at here. Okay. I'm getting a nod that it's a yes, so that's good. Okay, anybody else with questions? All right, so, go ahead, Member Blatherwick.
For Miss Horn, things have changed dramatically with the legislation coming out of Queen's Park and land use planning in this province. Is shadow casting now an issue, or has that been eliminated as a consideration when these types of applications come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Blatherwick. So the Planning Act doesn't consider views. I can't speak to the shadowing more specifically, but perhaps my colleague, Ms. O'Connell, can.
Okay. It's my understanding that things have changed.
Go ahead, Ms. O'Connell.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Shadow impacts and assessments are required as part of site plan applications in certain cases in the city where we looked at impacts, and that's specifically where there's potential impacts on adjacent public spaces is where we typically focus, like parkland. So we typically don't request any shadow impact assessments based on impacts on adjacent properties. I think in general, I don't have the legislation in front of me. I think in general, the protections are decreasing, but I can't speak to off the top of my head what's happening with how we consider shadow impacts. But I'm certainly respectful. This is the first time I've seen the impacts on the adjacent property, that there are obvious impacts from this proposed development, but how we consider that in terms of if it was a site plan application, it likely would not be part of our review. I can put it that way.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So just following on that, Ms. O'Connell, come back. Because it seems to me that while sun shadowing may not be a study that's specifically requested, if an applicant or a respondent can demonstrate that in fact there would be some overshadowing on a property that would demonstrate that the impact is not minor, that is a consideration that this committee could take into account, is it not?
It's up to your discretion, Madam Chair, as to whether these impacts constitute undue adverse impact. And that's really the test that we are looking at under the Planning Act.
All right, thank you. That's, I just wanted that clarification. Anyone else? Member Lecky?
One more, just building on the comments earlier about building height. So maybe it's for you, Ms. Horn. So nothing before us today is on building height. I know we had heard some evidence, making references to coach houses and the intent of that. That doesn't apply here. That's not what is before us. There's an argument that's being made that that's the intent, but really, because we aren't hearing an application based on building height, if this was meeting the lot line requirements and everything else, the height that is being built today would be compliant.
Thank you. That is correct.
Okay, thank you. That was a long-winded way of me getting a yes, but thank you for following along.
Okay, I'm going to call then on our next speaker to see if they're, thank you for your time today. Is there anyone else in the audience or online who would like to speak to this application? We have received a number of comments in opposition in writing, but just checking to see if anybody wants to address the committee. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody come forward. One last call out then to our members, any other last nagging questions that you may have before I give it over to Ms. Kaur to recap and reply. Anyone? All right, then that means over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. As discussed earlier, we did, I want to bring this on record, we did discuss about the different options in terms of the design to meet the applicant's requirements for their own single dwelling use. We are not impacting or changing any usage or intensifying, adding any additional units up there. It is solely for the use of the owner. To keep that in mind, this was the best option available in terms of the design we have for the lot, for this kind of site-specific irregular lot. It doesn't concern, not impacting at least the streetscape and the front yard. Further to that, it's our understanding that considering the current state of usage of the single dwelling unit is retained, there is no addition. And in terms of the TIR, which was discussed earlier in this hearing, we do understand that the location of the tree was not inside the rear yard of the 70 Maple Lane. So that has been updated and submitted to the committee in the last 2 days. But as discussed with the arborist, the location is not impacting because the design which was considered for the rear yard is on the piles. There's no excavation, there's no basement up there on the rear yard. Even the deck was floating deck, which was proposed solely after discussions with the city forestry and the planners team, and the design was finalized considering that. So putting all this in conclusion, I would say that I would request the committee to approve the plan and get it tied to the minor variance which we are requesting. Thank you.
I have maybe one last question then.
Sure.
Can you tell me what the square footage is of the existing house and how many extra square feet are being added to the house as part of the addition? So how large is the addition in size, and how many square feet do you have today?
So currently the house is 814.92 square feet, and we are doing an addition of 500 square feet that at the rear. That is about 46.45 meters square.
So you're just talking at the ground level though, right?
No, that should be that is something for design question. I want to confirm with the designer before I say incorrectly in front of you. just one.
So you're saying that a two-story addition that's going in is 500 square feet?
Yes, just give me 1 second, I want to confirm, thank you. So yeah, that's just the footprint we are talking about and not this, thank you.
So it would actually be, if you're looking at 500, so you're actually talking about a 1,000 square foot addition. And the existing house then you said was what, 850? So it's actually 1,600, is that correct?
No, so this one would also be the square, 814 would be the footprint and not the.
Okay, but it's two stories, so it's safe to say it's 1,600
Yeah.
plus the 1,000. So you'd have a house of 22,600 square feet. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I just wanted that clarification. Okay, yes, go ahead, Member Blatherwick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the applicant's agent, would the owner of 47 Rockcliffe Way be amenable to constructing a 2.1 meter tall sandwich board fence along the full extent of the rear property line between 47 Rockcliffe Way and 70 Maple Lane?
Sorry, Mr. Blatherwick, can you repeat the question? I heard.
I'm asking if the owner of 70 or 47 Rockcliffe Way would be amenable to creating or to erecting a full 2.1 meter sandwich board fence along the extent of the rear property line to replace that fence that's there and is obviously not in great shape, and quite frankly the other piece of fencing, which the chain link fence, which doesn't provide any privacy whatsoever.
I understand. This is something which we have not discussed with the owner, but I would really like if the owner can respond to this question. He's currently here, and that is something which is on their discretion.
I'd suggest that the owner needs to talk to his neighbor.
Yep.
And they should come to an agreement, because I think that would at least mitigate some of the issues.
Understood. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. So I am going to go out on a limb, and I think we're reserving on this application. So we're not making a decision until later this afternoon on this, because we've heard a lot of good new submissions today. So thank you for your time. You will get the decision within the 10 days, as you know. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, so reserving on that application. All right, so the next application is number 8, which is 615 Mikinak Road, looking for agent Zazde. All right, and just so we'll wait for you to, do we have the agent? Where is our agent? Ms. Papworth, have we got the agent online? So, okay, so the agent is online. Okay, do we have a visual or just, what have we got?
Madam Chair, she's just joining now.
Okay, all right, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
We are going to be looking for a full presentation on this application. I imagine you have a PowerPoint?
Yes.
All right, okay, the floor is yours. Go ahead, please.
All right. So the application is for a minor variance on 615 Mikinak Road in Wateridge Village to facilitate the development of a planned unit development consisting of 60 back-to-back townhouses and 51 rear lane towns. Just to note that the site plan has been updated since the initial submission. The change is minor. It just consolidates some of the unit paths to allow for more space for tree planting. Next slide, please. Just for some quick context, the property is currently vacant. There are some existing low and mid-rise developments located to the south and west of the site. And there's some city lands and a park to the east of the site. Low and mid-rise development and other mixed use developments are planned to the north of the site. Next slide, please. Under the official plan, the property is designated minor corridor in the inner urban transect, which directs for additional and higher residential densities and permits low and mid-rise built forms. The property is also designated low-rise to mid-rise neighborhood under the Wateridge Village Secondary Plan. Next slide, please. So 4 variances are requested to facilitate this development. The first variance is to permit a maximum building height of 11.42 meters. This is consistent with the intent and purpose of the official plan and secondary plan by providing a compatible low-rise built form consisting of appropriate massing and density in a permitted use under the zoning bylaw. So the highest height proposed on this site is 11.42 meters in the center of the site for the back-to-back townhouses. The height drops down along the perimeter of the site for the rear lane towns to 10.15 meters, providing a transition in height to the surrounding area. Next slide, please. The second variance is to permit a minimum setback for any garage or carport entrance from a private way of 1.05 meters. The requirement for 5.2 meters intends to provide some extra space in the driveway for parking, but the proposed development on this site exceeds the parking requirement for both visitor and resident parking. So having the extra space in the driveway is not required. Reducing the setback also improves the streetscape safety along the private way and allows for a more appropriate front yard setback along the public street, also allowing more space for soft landscaping there. So reducing the setback doesn't impact the functionality of the garage or the parking. Next slide, please. The third variance is to permit a minimum setback of 1.05 meters for any wall of residential use building to a private way. So the intent of this performance standard is to create sufficient space between a building wall and the private street for some pedestrian circulation. The provided setback is sufficient for the circulation and is supplemented by internal doors in the garage for residential circulation within each separate townhouse dwelling for functions such as accessing the garage or taking out any waste without having to leave each separate townhouse. This still allows a sufficient, the reduced setback allows a sufficient front yard setback along the public street and still maintains enough space along the private street. So reducing the setback has no negative impact along the streetscape of the private way and does not impact the functionality of the site. Next slide, please. The fourth and final variance is to eliminate the requirement for opaque screening along the balconies. So relief is requested for this in an abundance of caution as the balconies are not within the 1.5 meters of a side lot line, given that the planned unit development has not been parcelized. These balconies will function as Juliet balconies and are provided to comply with the Ontario Building Code as waiting areas in case of fire or emergency. So eliminating the screening requirement has no impact on the use of the balconies. The proposed development is in process of finalizing site plan control application and plan of condo application. The City of Ottawa has reviewed the proposed development and the associated technical submissions with the development applications and is comfortable with the proposal. So to summarize, the proposed variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and the development represents good land use planning that's in the public interest. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your presentation. I'm going to open it up to questions from the committee at this point. Anyone? A member Lecueilli?
I'll be chatting today. My question's for I'll start with planning. So where do I start? Is this the case? The reason why this is before us today is because that our zoning bylaw has not, we don't see back-to-back towns as kind of proposed as frequently. You kind of saw those, but many years ago, not seeing them as a design option now, seeing them more prevalently. And so I'm just curious, is that the reason why these variances are before us is that maybe our zoning bylaw hasn't kind of caught up to this design option, and why, when you look at what's being asked of us, 5.2 meters versus 1, that seems like quite the leap as an example. So wondering if you could kind of speak to that a little bit, and then, even maybe allude to what's happening moving forward. Is this are we moving more in compliance of this, or is this something that's trying to slip in before maybe things might change?
Thank you for your question. So essentially, one of the big change or one of the in relation to variance B, which I think was mostly what your question is focused on, generally there's a provision in the current zoning bylaw which allows certain ground-oriented types of development, residential development, to have a parking space in the driveway in front of the garage. And so it allows people to park there. And so that's generally why there's a 5.2 meter requirement. However, in this case, given the layout of the overall site and the garage, being quite close to the lot line, it would just mean that, obviously nobody can park in the driveway. And, in our mind, it's still a functional design. They're still meeting the parking requirements or exceeding the parking requirements. And so that extra space isn't really required in our view.
All right, thank you. Ms. O'Connell, I saw your hand up. Did you want to add?
Just that the zoning for Wateridge Village, coincidentally, I was the author of about more than a decade ago, and just wanted to point out that it was done on a conceptual basis when it was done, and so it wasn't done. It doesn't have the same zoning as the rest of the city, and to be frank, it's not perfect. And so it was done on this conceptual basis that Canada Lands Company was doing the zoning bylaw on a conceptual basis at that point, and then the parcels would be sold to subsequent developers. So it's not uncommon. I think there's been several applications before the committee with minor variance applications to address more site-specific situations. Just as Madame Lecuyer mentioned, designs have evolved over time, and so there's designs that just weren't contemplated at the time when that original zoning was created.
All right, thank you for that clarification, Ms. O'Connell. Any other questions? Member Blatherwick.
Yes, to the applicant's agent, regarding variance D and the opaque screening, why is this being requested?
Through you, Madam Chair, we're just requesting it in an abundance of caution. So through the site plan application, it has been noted that a relief is not required for this, but in the event in the future, if any of the townhouse units are to be severed, then the variance would cover that. So it's just to be safe and avoid any issues in the future, since we're already coming in for a minor variance application.
That really doesn't answer my question. Why are we eliminating a 1.5 meter opaque screening above grade? Period. Please answer me that.
Through you, Madam Chair. So the provision is that if a balcony is within 1.5 meters of a side lot line, then the opaque screen is required. As this planned unit development is established, there are no, each townhouse is not parcelized. So the balcony is not within 1.5 meters of a side lot line at this time. So we're just requesting the variance in an abundance of caution in case in the future lots are to be parcelized, because in that instance, the balcony would become within 1.5 meters of a side lot line.
So at some point in the future, will these balconies be within 1.5 meters of an exterior sidewall or interior side lot line?
There are no imminent plans for that.
Pardon me?
There are no imminent plans for any parcelization of this planned unit development. But since the application is being brought forward for minor variances, it's being sought in an abundance of caution.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Member Blatherwick. Member Keklikan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm trying to understand we go back to the variance B. The explanation of, there's a significant difference, as my colleague mentioned, it's about 80%. And the setback change proposed is to accommodate the garage without parking outside the garage. Am I understanding this correctly? In the pathway, because in my mind it would make the garage entrance more prominent if you're with the proposed variance change. So I'm just trying to understand what is the rationale when it's mentioned that these would facilitate the development. So if it's not awarded, if it's not granted, then it would be a detriment to the development?
Through you, Madam Chair. So for variance B, the zoning bylaw requires a 5.2 meter setback to provide enough space for a driveway to provide parking. Since this development already exceeds the parking requirement, there's no need for extra parking space within a driveway. So by reducing that setback to 1.05 meters, there won't be any cars parked in a driveway, which would bring the focus more on the dwellings and the streetscape than having cars parked all along down the street. And each townhouse has a double wide garage, so cars can be comfortably situated within the garage instead of being parked in a driveway.
So that explanation would apply to other developments then, I would presume, in the future. So, thank you.
Yeah, if I might, I actually live in a development where I've seen that. There is space in front of the garage door, if you will, that you couldn't possibly park another car, but it's there. And I think that if I'm understanding the concept, that's what we're looking for in this case as well. And then there's the lane that the common lane that everybody uses, but there's still that very short setback. Am I getting that correct, Ms. Chadez?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, that's correct. So we'll have the 1.05 meter setback that would accommodate that bit of driveway getting a car from the private street into the garage, and to allow for any pedestrian circulation between the townhouse and the private street.
Thank you. I think a lot of people use it for their recycling bins, I'll be honest. I think that's what I've seen. Okay, any other questions on this? I have one actually. So just going back to these little opaque screens versus not opaque, is that just an aesthetic thing? Or like, I'm trying to understand why you wouldn't do what's being requested in terms of the type of screening.
Through you, Madam Chair. So the requirement comes in if the balcony is within 1.5 meters of a side lot line, which the balconies are not within that at the moment. So the opaque screen is not required. And the balconies proposed are Juliet balconies that are more that are placed in because of the requirements of the Ontario Building Code in case of fire. It's a place of waiting for emergency services to reach the site. So eliminating the requirement for the opaque screening would not impact the function of the balcony as Juliet balconies, and would not impact the use of the site or the use of a balcony with any of the neighbors.
All right, thank you. Member Lecaillie.
So just so I'm clear, because I'm not a planner or an architect, a Juliet balcony, I think I've seen them in my neighborhood of this type of, when I'm looking at the pictures, I'm trying to understand the concept. Is this the type of balcony where this is not where you're hanging out reading a book or can even put a chair? It's like those really tiny balconies that just kind of bump out a little bit. And as you said, in your response just now about might be where you're waiting for emergency services, or unless you want to make a leap, or are these like something where someone could actually sit out and put a chair? I'm just kind of wanting to understand that.
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, you are correct. They're kind of the small balcony. You can't really fit too much on it. It's there for emergency services mostly. So it's more of a functional type balcony than an enjoyment type balcony.
So if I'm trying to enjoy my living room and I'm inside looking outward, if that was opaque, right? Or if that was like a half wall or whatever it might be, that would affect my enjoyment as the owner or an owner occupied unit on this side, right? Like that's kind of what the argument might be versus a neighbor who might be saying, hey, I can see, I don't have any privacy. Like I think that's what I'm trying to understand the concept here.
Right, yeah, so the opaque screening would be on the sides of the balcony if you're within 1.5 meters of a lot line. And I understand the performance standard there is for protection of privacy when it comes to being near neighbors, within 1.5 meters of neighbors. But in this circumstance, it's not a full balcony. Not having that opaque screening would not affect any of the neighbors or affect any privacy concerns.
All right, thank you. I have just a couple of last questions. Just remind me why we need the increased building height again, because you're looking at an additional 1.42 meters. So sorry, I might have missed that. Can you just remind me why you need that height?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. The maximum building height of 1.42 meters relates to the back-to-back towns that are located within the center of the property. It accommodates a 3-story townhouse dwelling. The rear lane towns on the perimeter of the site have a height of 10.15 meters, which is also around 3 stories. So the height transitions down from the center of the site to the perimeter of the site, so that it relates to the low-rise neighborhoods surrounding it.
So, but ultimately, I think if I read your report correctly, the reason you need that increased height is also because you're allowing room for additional units. Is that correct? I'm just looking at your report here. Let me catch up. Maybe this is not the application that applies to, but I'm trying to figure out, why 1.4, which is, we're talking about almost 5 feet, 5 feet, would be required. Is it additional units? Is it, or additional space in the unit? Or is it just roof? I'm just trying to figure out what's in that space.
Through you, Madam Chair, it's pretty much the design of these townhouses to provide enough space within each unit for the residents.
Okay. And I don't suppose you have sort of an elevation that shows the floors and the floor heights? Like how many floors are these things and what's the floor to ceiling rate heights on them?
For sure. So the elevations submitted with the application show the floor heights for each of the different types of townhouses. So having this extra height and space can help create some larger units and some more flexibility within each unit. And I'm just pulling up the elevation so I can confirm exactly the height for each story. Sorry, give me 1 second.
And I guess there are 3-story units, is that correct?
Through you, Chair, Madam Chair, that is correct.
It's a little small for me, I'll be honest with you. I can't see those numbers.
I'm just pulling up the PDF on my side so I can read the numbers.
Can we just zoom in on them? They just get blurry.
So the floors for the back-to-back towns is about 9 feet 11 inches per floor, and the top floor is just over 8 feet.
So 9 feet 11, 9 feet 11, and 8, correct?
Yeah, it's about that.
All right, okay, thank you for that. And then just my last question too, then, in terms of the public consultation that underwent, so you have the site planning process that you've gone through, you've had a chance to engage the community, I take at that point. Was there any, can you tell me a little bit about that and how you engaged the community for the purposes of the minor variances?
Through you, Madam Chair, through the plan condo site plan applications, the applications were posted online to be reviewed by the public, and there were opportunities for the public to submit their comments at that time. For the minor variance application, the signs were posted within the statutory timeline on the property as directed by the Committee of Adjustment.
Did you have any opportunity to engage with the Wateridge Village Community Association? Because we received comments. They're dated January 12th. Have you had a chance to see those? Have you had a chance to speak with them? Can you tell me a little bit?
Through you, Madam Chair, we did receive the comments and did review them. I'm not sure of any communications between Mattamy and the Community Association.
Sorry, would you repeat that? You're not aware of the
I'm not aware if there are any external communications between Mattamy and the Community Association for the applications, but I'm just confirming.
Do you know if there was any information provided in the presentation center on this this proposal?
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair. I had just have confirmation that the Wateridge Community Association did attend the pre-consultation for the development applications and were happy with the site plan.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, committee, any final questions before I take it to the public portion? Nope. All right. Okay, let's see if we've got anybody on the speakers list. All right, so we've got Ms. Thompson, yes, who's here. Come on down, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Jane Thompson, representing the Wateridge Village Community Association, Planning and Development Committee. We do not oppose the minor variances, and mostly because we think they're very helpful, having the rear lane towns to create a good streetscape with windows rather than garages, and that these developments are designed to increase the supply of reasonably priced housing. I think part of the reason for the variance for the 5.2 meters at the back is that you would not be able to provide the number of units on the lot without that variance, which contributes to the affordability. There's also in Wateridge Village, as part of their secondary plan, there's a minimum density that needs to be reached on different sites. So having that setback variance helps to achieve that. This is a development very much like one Mattamy has already built at Wateridge Village. So what the comments we have are trying to learn from what's happened in that first development and try to prevent a few problems that occurred there. We also discussed the opaque versus the clear balconies. And as a community association, we appreciate the clear balconies. We think it improves the appearance of the building. And also in this case, they're not looking towards traditional rear yards or side yards of neighbors. They're looking towards streets and garages. So we feel it's in the interest of the community and the neighborhood to have those clear. We did have a couple of questions for variance A, and if you could, I do have a presentation. On the first page in the submission, there's a drawing that indicates which parts of the site the variances apply to, which seems to show that the variance for height only applies to the inside portion in red. But in effect, the building elevation height we were just given was 10.15 meters, which I think is 10.154 meters on the plan, but doesn't appear to be taken to average grade for the street-facing units. So I don't believe this diagram is correct, that there would be a lesser height, but that there would still be a variance required above 10 meters for the entire development, because those would be 10.15 meters plus whatever distance is required to average grade, which didn't appear to be indicated. I think I've shown the elevation on the probably the same one we've just been squinting at a moment ago on the second one. And at the very far right, this is for the street-facing rear lane towns. There is a dimension of 10.154, but it kind of hovers. It isn't related to average grade. So we would just like clarification of what the height is, actual height to grade of the outer units, and whether it is incorrect, that diagram, that the minor variance only applies to the innermost blocks. The second issue that we'd like to raise is that we've had considerable problems with the amount of parking, both resident parking and visitor parking in their previous development. In that case, they did not have the double car garage. And as noted, the 5.2 meter variance would have allowed a parking space on a driveway in front for either residents or visitors. We believe that the 2-car garage is going to work to provide adequate parking, but only if the garage is not filled with storage that it's actually available. In previous developments, the owners, we felt, weren't adequately informed of the amount of visitor parking on site, street parking, and in this case, the need to keep their garage accessible for their own parking and for visitors. So as part of the site plan control and Mattamy, going forward, we would request that this be made very clear to residents to prevent that problem. The other issues in that other development had to do with snow clearing and tree planting, because there's very little green space left in the backs of this development, and there's very little space beside the road for snow clearing. So we would also ask that Mattamy and city planners, through the site plan control process, ensure that snow clearing and storage is carefully considered, and that adequate space is provided on site, and that every opportunity for soft landscaping and tree planting is pursued through the site plan control process. I should also add that there was a previous question about Mattamy. They have been excellent at consulting with the community association. In addition to the necessary consultations, they have reached out to us through the process. So we're very pleased and have a great working relationship with them. The final one is for the committee itself about the notification, and that would be on the third image, that you can see that there are properties identified on the south side of the parcel. But as you saw in the applicant's slide, there's now a development on the west side, which was constructed sometime in the last year, which doesn't appear to have property parcels beside it. And we didn't hear from anybody who had received a notice on that side. So we're just curious if notices were received. In addition to that, on the next slide, you can see the variance signage was not ideally placed. We had to work very hard to find it, half buried in the snow. And in many cases in Wateridge, the development is not an area where anybody lives or would receive notices. So in the past, we've asked if the community association could receive notice directly to ensure that this information gets to all residents. So we're hoping through the committee that and we've provided the email address that we would really appreciate being notified of for future applications. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Thompson. I'm going to give a chance to the agent to respond to a number of your questions regarding the variances. There are a number of comments that you did make, and that's within this document that, as you know, not the committee's purview, more of a site planning issue. So we're really concentrating on very narrowly the amendment, the minor variances that are before us. Do want to ask our Deputy Secretary Treasurer, though, how does that work in terms of any community association being circulated or notified of these things? Is that a planning services responsibility, or is that on our side?
The community association would have to sign up with planning circulations to be part of the public notification system. That's where the Committee of Adjustment gets community association addresses from whenever we send out notifications.
Okay, second question to you, Deputy Secretary Treasurer, is, all right, so the circulation map doesn't necessarily reflect the circulation list, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, and it can often be outdated. It's just based on Geo Ottawa, and it can take actually up to 2 years to fully show new lots. Our address list is much more up to date. It's refreshed every month.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's what I thought. I was hoping technology would help us around that, right? But okay, so I think that's what we've heard. With that then, Ms. Zadeh, sorry, my apologies. It's your turn to reply to some of the comments you've heard.
Through you, Madam Chair. So the height minor variance applies throughout the entirety of the site for both types of townhouse dwellings. The 11.42 meters is the maximum across the site based on the back-to-back towns in the center. And we're using this blanket 11.42 meters for both types of townhouses to provide a margin of flexibility with the ultimate grade of the site, as it does have a significant grade change. With regards to the parking, the development meets the parking requirements for both visitor and resident parking and exceeds both requirements. The city is comfortable with the amount of parking provided as per the site plan control application. Regarding snow storage, there is a snow storage area provided at the southwestern corner of the site shown on the site plan, which is an area that's been reviewed under the site plan control application, which the city is comfortable with. For soft landscaping, a landscape plan has also been provided as part of the site plan application, showing where soft landscaping and tree planting is proposed. And since a minor variance application has been submitted, as noted, the site plan has been revised to consolidate some unit paths to allow some more tree planting space in the front yard, fronting onto the public streets. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that explanation. Is there, let me just check my list to see if there's anybody else we've got. No, so is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to come forward? Or anybody online who would like to speak to the committee about this application? Thank you for your time, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you.
All right, with that then, if there's no other questions by the committee, then the wrap up is yours then to conclude.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just to reiterate, the minor variances before you today are to facilitate the development of a planned unit development consisting of a range of townhouse dwellings that meet the intent and purpose of the official plan, they are a permitted use under the zoning bylaw. They're desirable for this area as they provide some additional housing density and options in larger units in an appropriate area. And the minor variances requested are minor in nature. And we believe that the proposed development represents good land use planning, and details of the development has been reviewed through the City of Ottawa's technical agencies as part of the development applications, the site plan control and plan of condominium application. So the development application has been thoroughly reviewed and vetted by different agencies within the City of Ottawa. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So members of the committee, we're ready to vote. Yes, okay, I think I'm seeing a yes. So all those in favor of the application? All right, so for the record, it's unanimous. The application is granted and good luck with your project.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Okay, so that takes us to the next application. Where are we here? I believe it's number 12 for 425 Tweedsmuir Avenue, looking for agent Hill. Did we not do it already? No, we didn't. We'll have to come back to that. You're right. Good afternoon. I don't believe your mic is on, so.
Hello. Hi, good
Much
afternoon.
better, much better. Thank you very much. So Ms. Hill, we know you, you're registered. Can you just introduce who you have with you today?
Yep, this is Allison Draney. She's a planner with our company.
I believe in this case, we were looking for a full presentation. So if you have a PowerPoint, it would be great if you could just proceed, please.
Sure.
Okay, so we're discussing the property of 425 Tweedsmuir Avenue. We are looking to subdivide the property into two separate parcels with reduced lot widths for construction of two long semi-detached dwellings with increased building height. Next slide, please. This is our subject site. We're looking to demolish the single-story building and the garage and shed in the back. Next slide, please. For neighborhood context, we are in the R3R low-rise residential zone. 1 block away is Richmond Street, which is a traditional main street with lots of shops and restaurants. Just behind the property, you can see the big parking lot there. That's the Loblaw Superstore, so it's in close proximity to a grocery store. And 2 blocks north of the property is where the future Westboro LRT transit will be. Next slide, please. And just a little closer up, you can see that the property abuts Byron Linear Parkway and Crane Park behind. And along Byron Linear Parkway, there is a pathway, and also along Byron, there is a cycling lane there. So it's very well served by transit and for active transportation. Next slide, please. For site context, these are the different views. So looking down Tweedsmuir, you can see that there's a mix of modern and traditional building styles, all low-rise, and this area has a lot of peaked roofs as well. And you can see in that bottom left picture there, there's the Byron Linear Parkway. Next slide, please. This is our proposed development. So it's essentially a pair of 6 plexes. On the left, there's the view from Tweedsmuir Avenue from the streetscape. And you can see that it appears as 2 stories. And that fits the surrounding character of Tweedsmuir Avenue, which is predominantly 2-story, 3 living level buildings. And then the view from Byron, you can see that there's 2.5 stories from the street, and the third half story is tucked under the roof there, which and from Byron, that fits more with the surrounding context with buildings of 3 stories, 4 living levels. Next slide, please. Here's our proposed site plan. So there's the 2 buildings, and there's a shared driveway that accesses 4 rear parking spaces in the back. Next slide, please.
Yeah, so I'll just explain some of the architectural choices that we made here. There's 6 units, but in each building, but each building has 1 front door with a large, generous porch. So our client was really keen to make sure that the porch spaces are living spaces that would be valuable to the tenants, but also improve the quality of the street. At the second floor tenants also have a large balcony to sit out. The ground floor and basement units are 1-bedroom units. The upper unit is a larger unit for 3 bedrooms, with 3 bedrooms. And so you can see on the side view that the additional roof height is allowing for those units to be larger.
We can go to the next slide. This is just showing the parts. So we're looking for a simple severance to divide the property in 2 equal parts. So building 1 will own the north side of the property and building 2 will own the south side of the property, with the easement for pedestrian and vehicular access to the back 4 parking spaces. Next slide, please. The development meets the Planning Act criteria. It meets the intent of the official plan for intensification of the area, as it increases the number of units from 1 to 12. The parcels are suitable for long semi-detached buildings. The development only needs 2 variances for each parcel, and there's adequate municipal services and no grading issues.
Okay, so a fairly simple severance request and division of lot that you've seen before on many long semis, particularly in this neighborhood. I'm going to walk you through the minor variances. There's 2 minor variances proposed, 1 to building height and 1 to lot width.
Please proceed.
I'll be quick. So next slide, please. For the lot widths, for the building height first. The building height requested is
10.85 meters.
Thank you, 10.85 meters. So just to compare the heights that are permitted under the zoning in this area, the subject site is at the red star. It's within the R3R zone, in which a semi is permitted to be a maximum of 8 meters, but a triplex is permitted to be a maximum of 11 meters. Sorry, 10.7 meters. And so the proposed height of the building at 10.85 is very close to that. And really, though our buildings are technically long semis, they really function like pairs of triplexes. So it's kind of splitting hairs in the zoning about which building falls into which category for which height limit. And I would propose that if 10.7 meters is acceptable for a triplex in that zone, 10.85 is very close to that and equally acceptable for the building type we're proposing. Also, in the zones that are highlighted yellow on the map, there are permissions for 11-meter buildings. Next slide, please. In red, our subject site. In blue, other sites in close proximity along the Byron corridor there that are built up right now as three-story buildings. So very much in the same size as the building that we're proposing. So there's more of a two-story character existing on Tweedsmuir Street, Tweedsmuir Avenue itself. Whereas when you view the proposed new development from the Byron side, you're in a context that's visually got a lot of these three-story buildings. Next slide, please. So that's why we've designed the building in this way, particularly to look 2 stories from the view on the left, which is the Tweedsmuir view, and only to kind of show its 3-story feature when it's seen from the Byron side. We've also made an effort on the Byron side to make sure that the architecture is distinctive there at a distance, because the building will be seen at a distance across the park. Next slide, please. So for tests for the increased height, we believe that the variance is minor, particularly in that it's only perceived from one side. And that it's desirable for the neighborhood because it allows for a greater variety of unit types within the building. So instead of getting 6 one-bedroom or two-bedroom units in the building, you get a larger family size unit on the top level with 3 bedrooms. And mix is good, I think, beneficial. It's in keeping with the purpose of the bylaw. The bylaw height limits are intended to produce compatible development that kind of fits contextually. And we've worked really hard to make sure that that's the case. And it's in keeping with the official plan by providing intensification in this close proximity to transit. We're really pleased that we can accomplish this significant increase in units in buildings that really look in character with the surrounding. So lastly, in the next few slides, I'm going to just speak to the lot width. The lot width variance is really very, very small and kind of confusing. As you'll see on the diagram on the screen right now, this diagram shows the lot frontages measured on GeoOttawa, and the lot frontage for the subject property, just over 20 meters. The required lot widths, once the property is severed, would be 10 meters on each half. So at its frontage point, it actually meets that requirement. And you'll see the neighbors around are in the same ballpark. So to be at that 10-meter point would certainly be in keeping with the neighborhood context. On the next slide, you'll see measured at the blue arrow line, which is the front setback. Lot widths are required by the bylaw to be measured at the front setback. And at that point, the lot widths are very slightly under the requirement, which is really frustrating. And it's just a product of the fact that the lot tapers a tiny bit, which is just probably some surveying error at some point back in history. So a very minor variance. We're certainly meeting the intent of the bylaw there. Next slide, please. And so it certainly, I think, is desirable to divide that lot in half so that it is more similar to the surrounding lot fabric, and so that we can achieve this desirable form of intensification. So in keeping with the official plan and the zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. So I'll finish there, and if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
All right, thank you for your presentation. Member Lecueillie, go ahead, please.
No question, just a comment, just a thank you for a really comprehensive, very clear to understand. This was very easy to follow along with, and even some of the slightly technical parts, like even walking us through the little difference here of whatever it is, 6 centimeters, very helpful. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. And Member Blatherwick.
Couple of questions for Ms. Hill. Fencing. You're building a house beside an existing one. Is there going to be a privacy fence along the north side of the property line between your proposed dwelling and the one that exists?
Yes, there will be a wood board fence.
Is that going to be a sandwich board fence, Ms. Hill?
Oh, I don't know.
Because a sandwich board fence is privacy. Overlap fences aren't really.
I'm sorry, I can't answer that at this time. But our client does intend to communicate with the neighbor and to coordinate the fence issue.
What about the rear yard? You're going to be providing 4 spaces back there, and that means light spillover.
Yeah, the rear yard abuts the neighboring park, and the side yard abuts the linear park. So if the city is interested in providing some recommendations around fencing, I'm sure my client would be open to that.
Well, I think as a consideration for the neighbors and the people in the park, I wouldn't want to be sitting in the park and watching headlights shine at me.
Yeah.
So doesn't seem to be an issue with putting a full privacy fence along the side lot line that abuts the property beside it and around the rear of the property to stop spillover lighting from those cars.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not a problem. The side yard abutting Byron might be, it might be less suitable to have a wood board fence there as compared to bushes. So we're open to people's suggestions.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member Kekalakan, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I have a question. It's in 2 parts and it relates to the parking. I guess the first part of it is the justification, needing justification for the parking itself. I know your document describes the property in question as, quote, located in a very walkable and bikeable neighborhood next to bike lanes along Byron, close to transit, and the extension of the future LRT would benefit as well. And I might add, I think there's also a benefit from the linear park you mentioned, the riverfront park from the NCC, their pathways there. So what then is the rationale for the provision of parking, on-site parking?
Our clients would like to have those 4 parking spaces for the 4 larger units, the 3-bedroom units. They're targeting families. And though there is great transit, most families who are living in that area do rely on a vehicle.
Thank you. The second part of my question has to do then the provision of the parking. Can you assure the panel that the access and maneuverability is safe to and from the parking spaces that you're providing?
Oh, we're not aware of any safety problems at all. There are lots of developments built with these same dimensions and proportions for both the drive aisle between the 2 buildings and the parking spaces in the rear. And I'm not aware of any problems that have arisen.
So if I understand, then they're consistent with the accepted standards.
Yes, they are.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions? All right. Okay. Just checking to see if I have any. I do want to explore with you. I understand that you do have some concerns about some of the conditions. Is that correct?
One condition, we'd like to remove the word central when the condition refers to air conditioning. Because some of the 2-bedroom units will be air conditioned with a mini head split system, which has the same effect as a central air conditioning, but it isn't technically central air conditioning. So if you simply were to remove the word central and called it air conditioning, we would be all good.
All right, so let's just be sure for the record that we're looking at the same thing. So I'm looking at condition number 4, paragraph 2, which appears after the word or. First sentence, design the dwelling units with the provision for adding air conditioning, striking the word central at the occupant's discretion. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, then we're just got that for the record. That's good. Okay, anything else?
No, that's all.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I do have a couple of speakers, I believe, on this. Nope, just one that's on my list. Mr. Keith Wilson. Come on forward. I know it's a long meeting today. It really is.
Meeting, and I gotta tell you, you know, I'm not an engineer, I'm not an architect, I've never done anything like this before.
Now, is your mic on
Gonna
by
have to put
chance?
up
Sorry, is your microphone on? Perfect, thank you
Does
so
that
much.
work? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, I've never done anything like this before, so you're gonna have to bear with me. I did send a slide. Is the slide, can we put the slide up? Yeah, so that's a picture of 423 Tweedsmuir. That is a house that I bought with my daughter and her partner. And they live there with their two kids, ages 5 and 2. We bought the property in 2024. So I took that picture last Saturday, which was a nice sunny day. And the proposed development here is to put a 3-story building 8 feet away from that south-facing wall in along where those flower pots are right now. And you can, I think it's going to result in the direct elimination of sunlight that is shown obviously in that photograph. Right behind our house too, like a 3-story building. I'm pretty sure it's going to take out the afternoon sun in our backyard. And right behind our building, and it will also be right behind the proposed development, is a parquet that the city built last year that has got children's play structures, and that's, you know, that's where kids go to play. I'm pretty sure, I don't know for sure. I haven't done a sunlight study. I didn't even know these things existed until today. But I'm pretty sure it's going to block the sunlight on that parquet if it's a 3-story building. So there's going to be 12 units in here where there used to be 1. And so I have a concern about parking. It seems to me that, I know we live in an age where everybody wants to use public parking and public transit and bicycle places and use the LRT, but 4 parking spaces for 12 units and all their friends that come to visit just strikes me as being pretty unrealistic. Especially having to drive in between these 2 buildings up this narrow laneway and then squeeze your way into one of these parking spaces. We have concerns about the parking. Street parking on that block of Tweedsmuir is already a bit of a nightmare. So there are parking concerns. I did review the city planner report. We're concerned about noise levels. That was a large part of the city planner report. We're in the property right adjacent to them, so we're concerned about the amount of noise. There are nice balconies. We're concerned about privacy issues as well. There are nice balconies that are overlooking the front of that proposed development that will be looking right down on our front lawn. And the air conditioning units, I guess they've been talked about, but I would hate to think there's going to be 12 window air conditioners blasting away right beside my property come next summer. Similarly, garbage recycling storage is going to be a concern. This is all going to be right next door to us, as is the volume of garbage that's going to be collected from 12 units on the curbside on garbage day. There's a lot of services that are going to have to be going into this 12 units. And I think our big picture point here is that it's too many units for that space. So there are these 4 tests. Is the variance minor in nature? Well, we think that squeezing 6 small units into each building, the height of the buildings must increase from 8 meters to 10.85. The word minor is a relative thing. I mean, to me, that's a major thing. It adds a whole extra story onto the building. I would submit that if your salary went down by 35%, which is the size of this change, you wouldn't consider that a minor variance. You'd think it was a pretty big impact. And we consider a 35% change to be a big impact too. Is it appropriate and desirable for the neighborhood? Well, this block of Tweedsmuir between Richmond and Byron it is a bit unusual because it's got two different characters. As you get down to closer to Richmond Road, as was pointed out, there's a hotel, the Richmond Hotel is there. There's an apartment block attached to right at Richmond Road, and there's a low-rise apartment building. But as you get closer to the Byron end, it's more single-family and side-by-side homes, including ours, and triplexes. It's an area that is undergoing densification, but there are no other sixplexes on this part of the street, and certainly no double sixplexes developments. We're trying to prevent inappropriate overbuilding that will choke this narrow section of Tweedsmuir. Does it maintain the intent of the zoning bylaw? Well, presumably one intent of the zoning bylaw is to constrain developers from creating structures that are out of place with respect to immediately surrounding buildings. The variance application shows other three-story buildings in the general vicinity, although none on this section of Tweedsmuir. And for the most part, these are very old vintage homes. I think the term that was used earlier on today was legal non-conforming. Was that the term? Surely there's no intent to support new buildings that loom over the homes of their neighbors. Does it maintain the official plan? The official plan looks to increase densification, and admittedly, the proposal is going to do that. The concern is that it goes too far, contrasts too harshly with other homes in that section of Tweedsmuir Avenue, and will create issues with traffic, noise, privacy, and services. A more reasonably sized project is called for, and we ask that the committee not approve the variance for increased height.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wilson. Were you consulted by, on this proposal?
No.
All right, thank you. So Ms. Hill, I think I'm going to ask you then to address a few of the concerns that were raised. We know Tweedsmuir parking is an issue, so that fortunately it's not a committee issue, but it can be an issue on that road. But specifically waste disposal, air conditioning, you talked about those units. What is that? What does that, how I'd guess adverse an impact might we expect from what's being proposed? And, sun shadowing, noise levels, yes, you get more people, you're going to have more noise, privacy. So if you can address some of those things, Ms. Hill, please, that would be appreciated.
Okay. I would like to let you know also that we did drop off a letter to surrounding neighbors, including the neighboring house. So I'm sorry if you weren't included in that. Inviting people to call me and with my phone number on the letter. So we didn't receive any phone calls. We also sent the letter to the two community associations that sort of have their boundary line close to the site. So we did make an effort at consultation. So with respect to parking, we appreciate that the city is going through some growing pains with respect to parking and infill housing. It's a difficult transition because the intent is for the city to grow and use more transit, but many people still do have cars. So when these buildings are built, if we receive your permission, the smaller units will be rented without parking, and the tenants will know that they're not getting a parking space when they rent those units. There isn't street permit parking available on the street, so they simply won't have parking available to them. So they're going to be warned that there is no available parking and will choose to live there, presumably because they don't have a car. Whereas the tenants in the larger upper units will be provided a parking space. So as time goes by, more and more of these units are being rented in the Westboro area, and more people are choosing to live in Westboro without a car. So the transition may be a little uncomfortable, but I think it's an important transition for our city to go through. With respect to garbage, the units have all been designed with storage in each dwelling unit, either in the kitchen or in close proximity to the kitchen, so that there's enough space for appropriate garbage storage inside each unit. And then the garbage can be removed out onto the street on garbage day. The zoning bylaw doesn't require formal submission about garbage storage. And so exact details about what bins may be included in the backyard haven't been absolutely confirmed at this time. The air conditioning units, also early days, the mechanical systems haven't been entirely designed for the building yet. But I would like to say that air conditioning units now have noise requirements, noise limits on them. So if you're used to that thundering window air conditioning unit, that's not what we're proposing here at all. First of all, they wouldn't be in the windows, they would be in the walls. And as much as possible, they're going to be located up higher so that they're out of earshot. Sun shadows. The intensification of the neighborhood necessarily involves adding more buildings that are at least 2 stories in height. The zoning envelope that is permitted for construction beside the existing building is such that in a fully conforming zoning situation, there will be a wall next to all of the existing windows. That's the existing context in which intensification is undertaken. And I still believe that the neighbors' quality of life will be quite high. So sorry. There will be ambient light in those windows, and the majority of the neighbors' windows are facing front and back. The rear parquet also may receive some shade very late in the day from the building, but I have observed that the parquet has sun shading features, and that shading may actually be desirable sometimes in the parquet. But the amount of shade cast by the additional building height is actually very minimal, right? The shade that's cast by the buildings in their fully zoning compliant state, the amount more that's being cast by the roof being a little bit higher isn't particularly significant, and certainly not significant for the immediate neighbor, the wall of the immediate neighbor.
All right, thank you very much. And just to confirm, there's no lot line reduction in any way, right? Like the side yard reductions, correct?
No, there's no reductions to setbacks, and the 6 units are as of right and have nothing to do with the increased height.
All right, thank you. Just wanted to confirm that. Okay. With that, then we're going to go, unless one of the committee members has any further questions, I'm going to do another call out. Is there anyone else in the audience or online who would like to speak to this application? I don't have anybody else on my list. I'm going to give you a minute.
Am I done? No, I was just, some of these units are going to have to be really small. And I'm just thinking of the no place outside to store your garbage. You're going to sit in a very small unit for 2 weeks collecting garbage. I mean, there's a lot about this that is just not realistic.
Okay. You heard the answer. So we've got that. Okay. So there's nobody else. I think at this point, then we're going to give our speakers a chance to just recap and maybe highlight anything else you'd like us to know. And then I think we'll go to we'll decide what we want to do from that point on. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. We're proposing 2 buildings that we've designed to be a good visual fit with the neighborhood, to house 12 households at a time when housing is dearly needed in the city. And the variance for lot width, very, very minor. So fundamentally, the lot is zoned to receive this many units and buildings of this size. The requested increase in building height will have very little impact, certainly no impact on neighbors, immediate neighbors, and fits within the context of the Byron area where there are already 3-story building heights. So we see the development as a great opportunity for Ottawa to increase its housing supply in a way that enhances the street, makes the street inviting, and improves the neighborhood.
Great, thank you very much for that. Okay, members, did you want to vote or you want to reserve on this, looking for some guidance? Okay. All right. So we are going to reserve, and as you know, you will get the decision in 10 days. And Mr. Wilson, are you registered to get that copy of that decision as well?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
All right. And I somehow missed number 9. So let's go back to number 9, which is for 339 Eastview. And I'm looking for the agents. I think, sorry about that. You've been waiting patiently.
Hi, again, good afternoon, panel members. So we both are the agents and here on behalf of the owner of 339 Eastview. My name is Amrinder Kaur, and with me here is Yasmin Bahadri. And should I?
Oh, just a quick thing. I just noticed that we're making a quick change to the notice, and I just want to get that on the record. So for variance C, we are changing so I'll read it out. To permit a reduced corner side yard setback of 2.02 meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum corner side yard setback of 3.19 rather than 4.5. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So do we want a full presentation today? No. Is it okay? So we're not going to go to a full presentation on this. Does anybody have any questions for? Wow. Is it? Oh yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Member Haskin.
It's never easy. I'm sorry. I was just wanting clarification on the variance A, which is to reduce the lot area. That is due to the change in building form, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let me just have a quick look here. I don't think we have any opposition that can you just tell us a little bit about the public consultation you undertook?
Yes, so the owner and we, the planners, were available for all the opposition, all the neighbors. Some people did call us and we responded to their queries and concerns on the call, and that was resolved at that time. But we have not seen any anticipated concerns so far on the file, so we're not concerned about that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm just refreshing my memory here on the minor variances, and I don't believe I have any questions on it. So let's go. If nobody has any questions, we can go to the public. Sorry, did somebody have to speak?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Sorry, Dylan, I wasn't even looking there at this point. So go ahead, please.
If we could just bring up the site plan for a moment. I want to bring everyone's attention to the 2 walkways on Eastview Street that are being proposed. So it's just a simple change to the plans, but the original plans were showing 2 curb depressions on Eastview. One for one of the primary entrances, and then one for the garbage shed. Through discussions with right-of-way, only 1 curb depression is going to be permitted. And I believe those conversations have happened with the agents. So there'll be 1 curb depression limited to 1 meter for the garbage shed. And then for the principal entrance to the building, they'll have to speak with the right-of-way to see if there's relief that's required from the private approach bylaw for that curb depression. But those conversations can take place, post C of A approval.
All right, so just, Mr. Geldo, just so I understand, there's 2 proposed now on Eastview, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so it says existing driveway to be demolished. That's on sort of the existing condition. And is that the one to be retained then?
So the one that's going to be retained is going to be for the garbage shed. So located on the far right-hand side of your screen.
All right, okay, that's what I thought. So.
And they're showing that it's going to be 2.2 meters in width, despite that the private approach bylaw only permits 1 meter in the city's right of way.
Okay, and just remind me, we don't have parking on this, for this
No
property?
No parking is permitted on a lot less than 450 square meters in area.
Okay, all right. Well, it makes sense to me then that we would limit the approach, the private approaches. Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Okay, so looking to the members again, any questions? Because I'm going to go to my list here. All right, we do have one neighbor, Madame Jocelyne Constant. Do we have that individual still with us?
Yes, she's online.
All right.
Hello?
Allô, c'est Madame Constant?
Jocelyne Costa, oui.
Est-ce que vous
Mais
voulez?
je suis là comme, I'm here to observe because this is my first time and that building is just across my garage on the corner of the street because I live at 375 Richelieu. So my house is right at the corner. So I just wanted, this is my first time attending. So I have been listening since 1 and I do not have anything to bring forward.
Alors, Madame Constance, si j'ai bien compris, c'est vraiment, vous avez observé qu'est-ce que c'est qui se passait, puis finalement, vous avez vraiment pas de commentaires à ajouter?
Non, parce que c'est une première fois, donc je voulais avoir une idée. Donc, c'est pour cela que je suis avec vous depuis 1h de l'après-midi.
OK, merci beaucoup. Alors, pour votre
Merci.
temps aujourd'hui.
Au revoir.
OK, au revoir. Okay, so that was the only person on my list. Is there anyone else? Not, there's nobody left in the room. So is there anybody left online who would like to speak to the committee about this application? Not seeing any? All right, back over to you then for just a quick recap and we can go to a vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair and the committee members. I just want to give a brief overview. It's a well-designed 3-story low-rise building with 8 units and a small accessory shed. The development fits the character of the neighborhood, which is already there, and improves the existing site conditions by removing the building encroachment into the city's property, giving a setback on both the corner and the front side yards. And introducing a 1.5 meters of interior side yard setback where none currently exists at the moment. And further, we are reducing the asphalt area. That's a major asphalt area up there and replacing them with the soft landscaping and providing bicycle parking at the front. It also protects the existing mature trees in the surrounding lots, adds new planting to the current lot, and creates a safe and pedestrian-friendly streetscape across the street. Overall, the project is aligning with the official plan and the zoning bylaw and is desirable for this location considering where the city is going ahead. So for these reasons listed, we request the committee to approve the project and let the plans be tied to the minor variances requested. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, committee, then I think we're ready to vote on this application. All those in favor? All right, then for the record, the application is granted. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye now. All right, that leaves us with one last application on our docket here. And that is for 46 Garland Street. So last but not least. Just your name and address for the record, please.
So I'm always scared of the mic. I never been on stage before. I never been in this position, but yeah. My name is Boutros. I'm the owner of the property, and I submitted the application for the minor variance. resubmit, actually. It was submitted before. Yeah.
Okay, I don't think we want a presentation, do we, on this? All right. So you're coming back to us.
Yeah, it was presented before and was some concerns from the community association, and I met with them and we revised the design, and we consider in the new design all the requirement, and they send letter confirmation they have no concern at all, and they support the proposal, and also has been reviewed by the city staff, and it was supported as well.
All right, so I think we're going to need a little help here. So, Mr. Gildart, so we've seen this before. Can you confirm that the minor variances that we're looking at today are different than what we looked at back in August?
Yeah. So most of the variances are the same as they relate to the front and side yards. The only variance that I believe is changing is the variance to reduce the rear yard from 7.5 meters to 6.3 meters. I believe in the past they were requesting 5 meters.
So all the variances are the same, save and except for variance C, that has gone from reduced request or relief from 5 meters to 6.3. Is that correct?
Correct. So the requirement is 7.5 meters and they're proposing 6.3 meters.
All right, I'm going to go look to our Deputy Secretary Treasurer because I'm wondering in this case whether we can even consider this application. It's essentially the same one we looked at back on August 15th that we denied. So guidance here, please.
Yes. There's no certain amount of change. It just has to be changed in some aspect. So that could be the variances or it could be the design overall, which I think there were some differences on the plan.
All right, so I'm looking to the agent. Do we have a site plan we could put up? Because I'd very much like to see what it is that you've changed about the site plan. Okay.
Just the community was concerned about the backyard setback, that the main concern. And first we propose 5 meters only setback, and now we propose 7.5 meter setback at the basement and main floor. But the 6.3 meter, so it's required as cantilever for the second and third floor only. So that's and it's also matching the neighbor building, which is 0 setback from the side. So I'm going identical to the neighboring building with this design. Before it wasn't like that. It was projected. The building was projected more towards the backyard, and the backyard was only 5 meter. But now the backyard is 7.5 meter at the main floor and 6.3 meter at the top, at the 2 stories on top, which is exactly identical to my neighbor building, which is 0 setback from the side, will be wall to wall.
Do we have that elevation that we could see? Is it available?
Yeah. And that
Just
was
remind me then.
What was the main concern from the community, and also the second concern was having a door at the front for the unit, and we provide one of the units. We provide front door for one of the units, but that was required from the community as well.
Okay, I guess I'd have to see what it looked like before, and remind me, was there public opposition at that particular point in time to your proposal?
Yeah, the public opposition was for these items which I mentioned, the backyard setback, which is I met with the community association and we revised it exactly what they want, and also for the main door at the front for one of the units, and we did what's required, and also was concerned about the garbage location, and we put it in the backyard as requested.
Okay, so you did meet with
I meet with the community association, and we revised the design and show them the new design, and they send the letter of support actually to the file. It's attached to the file.
So just a quick question to our Secretary Treasurer. Apologies, I do not seem to have the summary comment sheet. Was there any opposition submitted in response to this revised proposal?
The community association did comment, and they were not opposed to the application. They supported the changes.
All right, thank you very much for that. Okay, and we have, okay, let's have a look at the site plan. Can we make it a little bit bigger, please?
Just for the question, through you, Madam Chair, the agent, I'm looking just at my notes back from last time. It looks like before you were planning 2 3-bedroom units and 4 studios. Did that change at all from, or is that still the same?
It will be the 4 studios, and the upper floor will be 1 3 bedrooms and 1 2 bedrooms unit.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
3 bedroom units
Yeah.
and 2 bedroom units and 4 studios. That's it's just 1 unit. It will be only 2 bedrooms instead of 3 bedrooms, but it's the same design. And the community also supported this because they were asking for bigger units for the family. That's why we have these 2 upper units for families.
Okay, so in total, before it was 2 3-bedroom units and 4 studios, and now we are 4 studios, 1 2-bedroom, 1
1
3
3,
one
yes.
3-bedroom. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, any other questions from anybody? Okay, I have nobody on my speakers list for this application. So, oh, your hand is up, Member Lecaillé. Didn't know if that was a new question or not. Is there anyone in the audience or online who would like to speak to this application?
There's no one left online, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you very much for that. In that case, okay, if you'd like to just give a quick summary of the application, or there's no comments to reply to, so, but the floor is yours. You always have the last word.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking if you please can approve it. I want to proceed with my project. Has been long for.
All right. So,
as explained, like the project is very simple, 6 units, front and back, and it's matching with what the community required and matching with my neighbor building. So, and it's new construction, my neighbor. Yeah.
all right, thank you for that. Does the committee want to vote now or reserve? It's up to you. All right, it looks like everybody's wants to vote then. All in favor? All right. For the record, the application is granted, and thank you for taking the time to meet with the people who had concerns and to make revisions to your application. It's always truly appreciated when we see that that kind of communication happens within the community. So thank you.
No, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Okay, given that there's no other business on my agenda, unless somebody else raises their hand, I think we're adjourned. All right, thank you very much.